keep it quick. I just want to say I am comfortable, Sud, that your shop understands the nature of the risks that the Auditor General has outlined. They are real risks, but I don't think that they are unique to this organization, as the proliferation of mobile devices and technologies has just exploded over the past few years. Every public sector organization is trying to deal with these. I think that the roadmap that you've laid out for us is a good one. If I may, though, with respect to the recommendations, you have management responses that, one, Q2 2018 response, Q2 2018 response, Q4 2018 response, Q3 2018 response, and then a number of things that you'll be responding to in 2019. Have you estimated about how much work it will be to do this, and do you have the resources you need to get this done? Because it's a big workload.
Through you, Mr. Chair, completely agree, Councillor, that it is going to be a big workload, but extremely important work for us. And so we have lined up all the resources that we need, both in terms of personnel, as well as in terms of the tools that we would need to implement to make some of these things happen. And I have all the confidence that the timelines that we have suggested as part of those management responses that we would be able to deliver. So
these are realistic timelines, those including those mid next year and toward the end of next year. It's ambitious.
Yes, and I'm confident that we can achieve them.
Okay, Chair, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Leeper. Councillor Wilkinson.
Yes, Mr. Vizier, when we're in camera, you used some examples from what you're planning to do to show how you're dealing with some of the things the Auditor General has raised. But I think it would be helpful for the public to know the broader base of that is what you talked about at the IT Committee yesterday, that about the whole operational changes that you've made and what you're bringing in and the contracts made in order to protect ourselves from with all the cybersecurity that's needed and all the other protections that are needed to, in fact, address what the AG raised. If you could briefly just summarize that, I think it would be helpful for those who were not in the meeting yesterday.
Certainly. Every tool, every piece of technology that we buy has got security aspects to it. But there is also a need in the system to have in place security tools that are very specific. So we have a number of tools in that area. But one of the things that we talked about yesterday at the IT subcommittee that is paying dividends to us is a partnership that we have struck with a third-party security service provider, which has allowed us, the city, to be able to analyze a lot of data in a much faster period of time, apply really complex filters, and then only highlight those instances where action needs to be taken when there are real cyber threats. As I shared yesterday at the IT subcommittee, just in the last 3 months, we were able to get about 20 billion logs of data analyzed, of which around 8,000 of them required some further analysis, again, done by the third-party provider. And only in 18 of those cases did they call us and they said, you need to perhaps look at these 18 different instances and make sure that everybody is okay on your side. And that was some additional due diligence that we did. That partnership and that type of rigor in terms of what is happening in our network, it is just the beginning. And we expect that throughout 2018 and beyond, we would be upping in terms of the level of rigor we are applying to the network.
How does that relate to the mobile devices that we're talking about in this particular audit report?
That same partnership is also going to help us with doing a lot of monitoring using mobile devices. At the same time, there is a system which is quite a new one for us. It's an industry-leading mobile device management system. In the industry, it's known as MDM, that we have recently put in place. When this audit was being done and the mobiles were being tested, that system was not there. But that system is also has many security built-in features that we are now going to be able to use to minimize the kinds of risks that are being talked about in this report.
And does that mean if we have a security, say we have an issue of an emergency where we need to have all our systems fully operational, this will keep them operational even while you're dealing with anything that might come up from the company doing the monitoring?
Yes, Councillor, and just to build on that, another tool that we have just recently again put in place is something called endpoint detection. And that basically is a tool that allows us to isolate infected devices in the network. And that, again, is a very good industry-leading practice that we are following, which is, again, going to minimize the kinds of things that are talked about in this report. So
just in conclusion, the recommendations that the Auditor General's made in this report that you've indicated would be, management response indicates to be dealt with by the end of next year. What type of timeline do you think you could have to report back to, probably through the IT committee in this case, but we would then know what's happening to actually implement the recommendations of the AG?
Mr. Chair, I'm planning to hopefully come to the IT subcommittee in Q1, likely in February of next year, and my full plan is to share with you the progress that we are making on this document, as well as the past audits, and I plan to do that every time I come in front of the IT subcommittee.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think that lays out sort of the general parameters of what we're going to do with this.
Thank you, Councillor Wilkinson. Councillor DeRuz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you, and I want to thank the Auditor General himself and his team for a good audit and bringing back to speaking on this item. I know we spoke a lot about it in the last few days throughout our IT subcommittee. I just want to make sure that, Mr. Bashir, that whatever you're implemented and in the roadmap that we show yesterday throughout our moving forward in our future technology, as you know, technology has a lots of risk, and I know that the way we're looking at upgrading some of our systems, moving on to a different platform on Windows 10 and all the upgraded with the new devices the city have and implementing the new MDM, do you think that you have and confident and moving forward in the next year that this city is going to be in a good hand, and moving forward, if we do another follow-up next year, in a similar fashion that we've done, the risk will be, we're always going to have risk, that's I understand that, but the risk will be a little bit more minimized, and are you addressing all these little founding that we found through this audit?
Through you, Mr. Chair, the short answer, Councillor, is absolutely yes. That the tools that we have put in place this year, the processes changes that we have made this year, and the plans that we have for all of 2018 are giving me the confidence that we're going to be able to minimize, as you said, the risk posture of the city.
And just one more question on concerning the MDM that we implemented. Did you implement the BEST 12 MDM?
That is correct.
And that tools should be allowing you in the future looking into different, bringing the wave of cell phone or mobile to the city in a different fashion. Maybe you can look at the bring your own device at the BYOD, and maybe implement some different policies and looking at a different option and features to allow, because if I'm understanding, we invested lots of money. This is a bulletproof MDM. You should be able to have workspace and personal space on the same devices. Is that something that you're looking at?
And that is correct, Councillor. The MDM allows you to have multiple platforms being able to be managed by the same software. It also allows an organization for employees to bring their own phones and connect to the network in a secure fashion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Or Councillor Al-Shattir.
Just a quick question to Mr. Bashir. Mr. Bashir, on the cyber security, do you work with other partners of the city, even if, like the police, fire, paramedic? Are you working to improve their system at the same time? Or?
Councillor, with the exception of Ottawa Police, which has its own independent technology unit, and I'll come to them in a second, we work extremely closely with all of the various independent technology groups, and that has been a very positive step, especially this year, where we have been able to collaborate much more with them. I'll give you an example of OC Transpo, which has a very complex technology infrastructure system, and there is, almost on a daily basis, discussions now happening, work plans being shared, decisions are being made jointly. So that is certainly happening. On the Ottawa Police Service side, I meet and speak with their CIO quite regularly as well, so we are in tune in terms of what their plans are and vice versa. But they, of course, are quite independent from what we do.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilor Al-Shantiri. Okay, so if no other questions, is the report as a whole carried? Carried, thank you. Any notices of motion? Any inquiries? Other business? Can I have a motion to adjourn, please? So moved, Councilor Al-Shantiri, thank you. Meeting adjourned. We don't have a date set, folks, for the next meeting. The only thing I can tell you, it won't be till 2018. Thank you all for coming. We really appreciate your attendance.